All right, team, in today's video, we're going to use Inertia deferred props so that we can load the initial page as fast as possible and then go and fetch the remaining props afterwards, just to keep the page performance and app feeling really snappy. We're also going to have a look at the usePoll function so that we can continuously fetch new data in the background. All right, so what does that look like? So in here, we're going to go and create a new project. We're going to hit create, and then you'll see it just pop up here in a few seconds. There we go, automatically, because we're using the polling. And then what we're also going to do is add the defer option here so that we can go and defer those props when we load the page. Very cool. Let's jump in. All right, squad, straight into it today. So today we're going to talk about deferred props in Inertia. So when we are setting up our props normally in our project, we use the Inertia props here. And what this does is it actually renders it at the time of page load. So it's going to fetch all these things. So if you have a lot of things, for instance, if these can start adding up, we have a whole bunch of props, it's going to obviously make more database hits. It has to wait for all of that before it can render it and inject that into the page. Now, what we can do here with Inertia is really cool. We can actually defer these so that the first initial page will do all what it needs to do, and then it'll do a second round trip to go and fetch the rest of the props so that the page can load really fast. This is really good for performance. So let's have a look and dive in and see how we do that. Okay, so in the docs, always a good place to start, Inertia Rails.dev. We've got here, you can see how we set up server-side props. So all we need to do here, so they're loading the users and they're loading the roles, and then they are deferring the permissions. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. It's very simple. All you have to do is to make this happen is we go bang like that and like that, right? So we just chuck that right there. Let me just make this bigger so everyone can see. So what I've done is I've added Inertia Rails.defer, opened the bracket, the block, and then just passed in what we want to defer. Now let's have a look and see if it still works. No, we get a crash, and that's because we don't have statuses available from the beginning, right? So that's one thing you're going to have to look at. So we're going to say can't read properties of undefined. So what that means is because it's not available straight away, we're going to crash. Now that is coming in the edit page. So realistically, the easiest way to fix this, we probably should just have this here as well as a type, status type. Cool. Hopefully, is that exported from there? Right, that's all good. So that's fixed that error. And then all we need to do here is just chuck a initializer, right? So if it's blank, it doesn't fail. It's going to basically render nothing. You can see the little flash there. Not ideal, but that's okay. But what's happening behind the scenes? This is what's important. So when you're working on your page here, you're going to see, let me just clear this log. All right. So you can see that the page loaded originally, and then it's fired off this to the edit page or the route again. And you can see here that it's asked here partial data, and it's only looking for statuses. So Inertia's super smart here. It's going to say, hey, just chuck me the statuses. And it's done this all just through literally us setting that over here, right? That's doing all the work. And then what you can see is we're getting a props back, and that's giving us all our statuses. So just by adding that little block there, it's handled the back end, which is deferred, and it's not doing anything there. And then it's also wiring up, and the front end is aware of that and actually goes and makes the round trip after. Let's have a look at how that actually works. All right, so all we need to do to check how it actually is functioning, you can see it's got this wrapper here, which is our app. And then in here, it's got the page, right? So it's got the page data. This is the stuff that gets basically server rendered or injected in. And you can see here, we're rendering the component. It's got its default props, which is the flash and the project, and it's injecting all that there. It's got the URL, the version, the history, clear history, and then it's got deferred props. And you can see here the default, and that's the group. So you can actually defer props in groups, and that's how you can await them. So we're using the suspense boundaries in React. So here we got the default and its statuses, right? So if we can now have a look here, and we will say, okay, well, we want to do groups, and this is where you can group requests, right? So you could say what they've done here is they're saying all of these are part of the attributes, and they're going to group them all together. So those will all be fetched together in parallel. So what we can do here is we can go Inertia and defer, and then we can just chuck a group here, and we can just call it attributes. Yeah, same thing. Now, if we refresh this page, we should see that here. See? So now we've got attributes, statuses. If we added in another thing, we don't have any more models, but we can add them in. We can see how that you can group them. So then what we can do is we can use the suspense boundaries or the deferred. The deferred is basically a suspense boundary. So what we can do here is we can grab this into our edit screen, chuck that here. So this is actually just deferred. We can stick it in there. And then from here, we can grab this and wrap it. So when we're loading our statuses, so that's actually in the form. So maybe we'll use it in there. So we'll copy that, and then we'll move this into the form. So it'll be deferred here. right? And then let me grab this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the status here. This is a bad example of it. Like realistically, you do it on a page, probably not in a form. This is all wrapping this block here, right? And then when this is loading, so this is the block that you're trying to handle. So we're going to say this will be attributes, I believe. So this is the multiple deferred props. This might actually just be statuses, right? So we're gonna go statuses here. It's gonna be super fast, so you can kind of see that. I don't know if you can sleep inside of a defer. Let's see. I don't know if that works. Yep, there it does. Okay, cool. So you can see we've got our little block. So you can use this like a suspense boundary in React. If you're not familiar with them, you can have a look. It's very common in most like React code. But this is basically a suspense boundary, I imagine, and it's just looking for this prop. And then while it's loading, we can display whatever we want here. Okay, so that's how you do deferred props in Inertia. Super simple, and it just keeps us like being really performant. Because imagine like we had to wait 5 seconds for this because it was a big query or something, like you were fetching a graph or data or report or something. We want this page to instant load, and then we got this here, right? I just find it like amazing how easy it is to do. So for instance, if we're clicking here, then we're like, yeah, cool, show this project, and we like edit this project, instant page swap, but then we wait for the load of the heavy data. And that's how we do a deferred, and that's why we would use it. All right, so we're gonna try something else now. So I wanna show you how you can load specific props only. So there is a way to just fetch. So because we've set it up in the control like this, we've got two different props, basically, project and statuses. Now I'm gonna do something where we're gonna add statuses, I think, here, and then we're gonna have a button just to click to reload them. Obviously you'd never do this in real life. It's just showing off, I guess, how it works. So in the form, what we'll do is we'll create a function which will be reload statuses here. And then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use the router directly from Inertia. So we're gonna go router, and then we're gonna say router dot reload. And then what we can do here is only. So when you use the only prop, you're telling it to only fetch that one prop. This is very handy when you like create a new entity and you have a whole page full of data, and then there's a list of projects, and you just wanna, you've popped it open in a modal, you wanna reload, and you wanna just fetch only that one thing. So usually what would happen would be like router.post, where you actually go and create the thing, and then you're saying when you're done, only give me back all the new projects. Okay, so only reload those. I'm just doing a reload here, but I'm gonna go statuses, right? And I think that's all we need. So then what I'm gonna do down here is what do we have in shed so far with components? Do we have button? Yes, we got a button. So let's import button with a D. And then down here, we're gonna go underneath the select. We're gonna just go reload. Now, obviously you don't do it like this, but I'm just trying to show you something. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna go reload statuses, yeah? There it is. Now let's see if this works. I've probably stuffed something up. So if we click this, so you can see it's flashing because it's fetching because of our stupid thing. So I might get rid of that little deferred thing because that actually is just gross. In this example, it's too quick. Our servers are too fast. So we go edit this project, reload. Okay, so what I need to do is also I need to say that this is not a submit type. This is just a type of button. So what's happening there? It's acting like a submit. There we go. Okay, cool. So what you can see here is, let's clear this out. Every time I click that, we're doing a request, we're doing a reload, but what are we doing? We're only fetching statuses. We're not fetching everything. So if we left out only like this, what's gonna happen? We're gonna see 2 requests now, because I'll just clear that so you can see, you hit that, it's doing the initial projects because that needs to happen straight away, right? You can see it there, and then it's doing another one for the statuses. Okay, so in our example, we don't want that, we just want to load the statuses only and only get those new props. I just find this really cool. I find this they've done it in a really nice way. So at the moment we've got pending and in progress, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna imagine in the back end somehow things are automatically created, and we're gonna just create a new status.create, and then I think it's key approved, title approved, bang. All right, so not there. Okay, so that's what we've done. We basically, imagine you've done some background worker thing and then the user clicked something anyway. Cool, it's a really bad example. but it's a cool piece of tech that you can use. Is when you do something, so it could be router.post, it could be router.get, whatever you're doing, you use this only prop and it will fetch only that prop. Very clever. Okay, so from that, there's another thing that you can use in kind of in the similar vein, which is polling, right? So what we can do here is we can just very simple, we can just say use poll, and every 2000 or 2 seconds, it will then go and fetch off. So let's use that. I actually haven't done it before, so let's give it a go. Okay, so all we need to do is we need to grab that hook. So it's use poll, all right? And there's so many cool things in here. There's use prefetch as well, I just saw, which is amazing. So this is the manual reload of fetching statuses, but what we're gonna do now is we're gonna say use poll 2000, so every 2000 seconds. And then here we got our request options, and then we got poll options. So does this have only in here? No, maybe it's in this one, only. Okay, so exactly the same thing, but with poll, we can go and fetch statuses every 2000 seconds. So this could be like, you could be creating a system where background jobs running and things are being processed, and every 2000 seconds you just want to fetch it. So it could be orders coming in, it could be anything like that, and you just want to poll. So there's two options. You can poll, or you could be pushing using a WebSocket or something. That is obviously a little bit more complex than just setting up a polling system. So 2000 poll. Now what we should be able to see here, see, look, it's fetching it every 2000 milliseconds, right? Until the end of time. And then if we go back to projects, it should cancel it, and it did. So we're not fetching them anymore. But yep, it's not fetching. So if we now go into here, edit this project, we should be polling again. There we go. Okay. So at the moment, pending, in progress, approved. Let's add another one. We're going to say processing. Okay. Bang that in there. There we go. It's already there. So look at that. So now we've basically tied our back end, and this is just pulling in props, and the page isn't reloading. You can see that nothing's happening here. It just magically appears. So if you had a bunch of orders, I mean, we could probably do this with projects as well. So let's just add that there just so we can have a bit more of a cool example. So if you had multiple users all creating projects or orders, let's set that up. So we go projects, pages, and then we'd have the index page here. This is probably where you'd use it realistically a lot more than where I put it. It wouldn't be polling statuses, but here we go. So we'd go use poll probably every, I don't know, 5,000. And here we're gonna just say only projects, right? I wouldn't probably refresh the whole page. Like, you can do that if you wanted to, if all that data mattered. Okay, so now we've got projects being polled. There we go. You can see them coming in every 10 seconds. It's a bit slower, which is cool. All right, so my first project. So now let's just go have a look at how we set up the project. So we're gonna go project.create. I actually don't know, is it just title? And then we're gonna say my third project, and then in 10 seconds it should hopefully appear there for us if everything's working. Hopefully. No, it didn't create it, sorry. Okay, well that's probably, that helps. Status is status.find. I'm just gonna go number 1. There. So you can see ID nil, so now it got created. We should get it in here now. There we go, boom. All right, so there we go, we got polling, and that's how easy it is, and it's just injecting the props. So this is very simple, but very powerful. So until next time, see you guys later.